Date with a Debut is recorded and produced on a Wapical country, and I pay my respects to all elders past and present and extend that to any First Nations people tuning in. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. On with the show. Welcome to Date with a Debut, a podcast about debut authors, their incredible books, and their journey to publication. If you're looking for a new author to discover or writing inspiration for your own story and you don't know where to start, this is the place to be. I'm Nick Wasiliev, host of the show, and I'm delighted to welcome another debut author in today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, jump online and give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review. It really helps the show out. If you also want to hear episodes when they drop, be sure to subscribe to Words and Nerds, or you can subscribe to Date with a Debut on Podbean to hear the latest episodes as they drop. Want to support the show more? You can also subscribe to my Patreon in the description to get early access to episodes, book reviews, recommendations, and a whole lot more. Wherever you are listening, thank you for listening to us and supporting the Australian book industry. You can also find any books mentioned in today's podcast down in the description. Well, welcome to Debut Revisited, a new special series as part of Date with a Debut, where I sit down with authors who are several books deep into their career and discuss their entire writing journey from the debut to the present day. And it's a very, very, very special episode this week to kick us off. I've got a very special guest who I've been Twitter bros and Insta bros with for a while. For today, I'm joined by the man, the boy, the dude, the best-selling author, the plate-shifting alpha, the self-proclaimed bromosexual himself, Holden Sheppard. We'll be doing a deep dive into this incredible WA author from his debut, Invisible Boys, all the way up to his brand new release, King of Dirt. Holden, how you going, my man?
G'day, Nick. What an intro. I hope I can live up to this massive ego boost you've just given me. Very, very nice to be here, joining you from Wajak Noongar country over here in Perth. Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, it's a pleasure. I think I was chatting with Deborah Pike earlier this year, and she was singing your praises, and she was the first WA author I'd had on the show, and I was like, fuck, I need to get Holden on the show, in some way, shape, or form. So it's great to chat with you. And I mean, we were just talking about it before we started recording, but you've come off a book tour for King of Dirt, and you've got a couple of events still to go in WA. So I appreciate you taking the time to have a chat. First of all, how are you feeling? Because you've been traveling since June, haven't you?
Yeah, look, and I'm one of those people who's way more introverted than I look or anyone thinks. So I can do all the promo stuff, and it's pretty fun. I have a really good time. And then at the end of it, I go just collapse and just curl up in the fetal position for about a month, and just can't cope with life. So I'm just I'm a few days away from that. But at the moment, I'm still on the high of doing the promo. So I'm having a good time. It's been really cool to see the reaction to King of Dirt, to be honest, because I really didn't know how this book would go down in the world. And, it was seen as a shift into the adult space, very, very squarely adult. And there was a risk that I might have been shit at that, So apparently, allegedly, I'm not too shit at it. So that's been quite nice.
No, you're definitely not shit at it. And before we get to that, I mean, there's been a bunch of books to get to here. So, sorry, let's back chat before we hit up these books. You're Holden Sheppard, man of many talents, best known for several best-selling books that dive into so many themes: gay experience, growing up, sexuality, self-identification, amongst many other themes. How the hell did that happen? Serious question.
Serious question. Well, do you know what? I can tell you the whole thing has been a very happy accident, and I probably emphasis on the happy because it's worked out very well for me, kind of life fulfillment wise, also money wise. I've been able to make a little bit of money off my writing, which it's very, very hard to do, especially in this country where Australia's got a very small market, and I'm not yet published widely overseas. So, it's worked out as a happy accident, but it is very much an accident, really. I actually started out with a first manuscript that was never published, that I spent about 3 years on. That was a fantasy action adventure, very mainstream, very commercial, trying to be kind of maybe a YA Matthew Riley style of thing, where I thought, this will be accessible and commercial, and I'll sell 8 million copies, and everything will be very good. And it doesn't work out that way. So I wrote that book and no one wanted it. So once it got rejected, it kind of forced a little bit of reflection from me, and I had to think about like, well, what do I actually want to stand for? Like, if I'm going to write a book and try to be commercial, and that path, and 3 years worth of that path didn't work, well, what do I want to do? If I'm going to get rejected anyway, I might as well just say whatever I really feel like saying. And so I sat down and wrote what became Invisible Boys, and it turned out I really had a lot to say about about growing up gay, and about being a man, and about sex and drugs and rock and roll and trauma and mental health and found family, and all the stuff that I actually care about. Once I started diving into that, that's what actually worked. But it was not an intention, and in fact, it was the opposite of my intention. I pre-2017, I was adamant. I was like, I'm not going to be a professional homosexual. I don't want my sexuality to define me. I don't want people to, I don't care if people know. I don't care if people know that I have a husband, but I don't want to make it a whole thing. and it's just completely comical now because I feel like it's all I fucking talk about. But there was a time where that was not the plan.
Yeah, well, God, it's talking about all these topics and subjects. It's certainly gotten you somewhere, and it's definitely been a bit of a journey. So, without further ado, let's dive into this career retrospective, and we'll dive straight into Invisible Boys. So, for everyone who is on the Ubes of Tubes on YouTube, I have these beautiful covers up here. I've got the Stan original Invisible Boys cover up there, 2019, published by Fremantle Press. This is definitely not a screenshot from Holden's website, because I was trying to upload all the images a second ago and was struggling really hard with it. But
I was like, I recognize this exact font from the... It's all good.
I realized I was going to get caught out in a second here, and I realized, screw it, let's just own it. And I would first of all love to shout out one particular review for Invisible Boys on Goodreads. Quote, I wrote this book, which is how I know 100% that it is all killer, no filler. Buy 10 for you and 10 for your mates, unquote. Which I will now say, for everyone listening, link in the description. It's a shout out you doing your own reviews.
Wow.
I'm gonna steal that off you.
I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble now. Doing my own.
But
it's a do one. The good lets you do one review of your own book, so you may as well give it a 5-star.
Absolutely, I'm doing that. But for everyone who is not familiar, though, I'll be surprised if you're not, given how big this book has gone. It's the story of Charlie Hammer and Zeki, set in regional Western Australia. And the thing that I love about Invisible Boys, I'm just going to say it right off the bat, is the voice. We are there with them. The growing up gay in regional communities, that experience. And I know that probably because this was your first debut, there is an element of it to it that's there is a personal feeling to it, because you're pulling from a lot of your own experiences a little bit more when you're learning the art and the craft. I don't want to I know that you talked about this book a lot, but talk to me about the experience of creating voice, particularly in the context of Invisible Boys when writing that debut, because I think it's a key part of why it works so well.
Yeah, I think initially it wasn't a 3-voice book. It was initially a novella told just from the point of view of Hammer, actually. And what happened was they had a couple of characters in that novella. It was not Invisible Boys, but a lot of Hammer's chapters in Invisible Boys are pretty much ripped from that novella. So they were written first. And there was a Zeke didn't exist, but there was a waiter. There was an Italian waiter in the wedding scene near the end. And there was also a musician who got picked on in the locker room. His name was John, and the waiter was maybe Zeb. And so there were these kind of side characters, and I wrote this Hammer thing, and I was kind of like, "That's okay. I've got this jock voice. Like, I've kind of found this dude, but I was interested in these other two." And at the same time, I'd written the Brink was kind of written before Invisible Boys, so I'd written about a third maybe of the Brink, and I had 3 points of view for that book. And so you had Leonardo, Kaya, and Mason, and they'd been established. And I kind of just was sitting there grappling with, okay, I think this novella maybe needs to be a whole book. And I also had half of the Brink that I was like, I like the 3 point of view thing. And so it kind of just happened that I smushed them together. So I decided, okay, what if I flesh out that musician? And what if I flesh out this Italian waiter at the wedding? and what are their stories? What were they going through at this same time? So that's, you know, the waiter became Zeke and the musician became Charlie, and Hammer stayed Hammer, which is fine because he doesn't grow much anyway. So it kind of it's quite fitting, really. He's the reluctant one to, you know, do anything. But once I had that, I then kind of carved it out as parts of the human experience. So it was like mind, body, and soul. So I wanted Zeke to be the mind. He was the thinker. He's the nerdy, anxious, academic one, and he's overthinking sexuality and a bit anxious, a bit OCD. Charlie's the heart. He's the punk. He's quick to anger, quick to fall in love, quick to fall out of love with people, quick to get very, very sad. So he was the heart. And then Hammer, it kind of worked that Hammer was either the body or the dick, depending on how you want to look at it. But Hammer was going to be more, you know, he's not super conscious of his emotions or not super conscious that he's gay, but he's very aware that his body is attracted, you know, like he's realizing he's got urges. So it was kind of like Hammer's the body in this 3-voice situation. And so once I had that, it kind of just, each chapter I rocked up, it was like, okay, now I'm in a Hammer chapter, so I have to really think with my body, and I really have to think about, you know, big dumb jock, what's he doing, what's he feeling, and just brought that to the start of each chapter, really.
Yeah, and it really comes through. These characters feel so diverse and different, and it as you say, it produces a whole feeling of all of it. I mean, of course, for everyone listening, go read the book, go watch the series. We'll, you know, there's spoilers here, but, you know, there's topics of secret boyfriends, heartbreak of identity, and also particularly because there's this regional element as well, where if you come out or not, it becomes something more about survival, whether you stay in the closet or not in this particular environment. It's, you know, often doing LGBTQIA plus YA, there's often the topic of self-expression is kind of something that is front and center, but that's not something that, you know, you can necessarily afford to do in a rural environment where you are forced to squash things down and push things down. Out of curiosity, do you reckon that I feel like there was a good lesson or learning that came out here, which kind of pushed into other books? Do you reckon like the need to be yourself, that self-expression element, is the most valuable human lesson from your kind of diving into the human condition a little bit, so to speak, you know, from your experience writing this initial debut?
I think it's a really good observation, because I think it is probably a common feature across all 3 of the published books, and even the next one that I'm working on, is it really is about self-acceptance, self-expression, and not feeling shame and liberation that comes with that, even in the face of people kind of not liking you anymore. I think that's what I faced in my own life, and so it worms its way into everything I write, is that there's this kind of sense of, you know, who you are, is, without being like after school special about it, because it can easily go down that road when you say it in these words, but it is kind of like, you know, you're okay just as you are, even if you're a punk, or even if you're a gay footy player, or even if you're a big bogan like Jack in King of Dirt. Like, all of these things are acceptable, and if people don't like you, actually that's fine. Whereas a lot of, and it doesn't just apply to gay people, it doesn't just apply to LGBT people, it applies to all of us, which I think is why the books resonate even with straight readers, is that we all have some facet of our personality that, you know, it's not that you have to come out as something, but, you know, when you share a certain part of yourself, a certain interest or a hobby, or maybe you now like this or you now like that, and you're telling people, you know, for the first time, there can be rejection that comes with that, or there can be shaming, or, you know, they prefer the old version of you that they were really comfortable with. So hang on, what are you doing? What are you doing now being confident? You used to be shy and you used to just shut up and listen to me talk. Now you want to talk, and you want to talk about something I'm not into. Well, so I think it's an extremely relatable human feeling of being yourself. Stop no longer pretending to be someone for other people, but being yourself just for you. And I think that's a really good observation on your part, is that all of my books are pretty much doing that.
Yeah, and speaking on the topic of connection and stuff, there's a character in the brief that I want to get to that, you know, I don't think I've connected to in any other way, shape, or form quite like. But I mean, it's amiss not to mention, you know, Invisible Boys, that this story got adapted. You can watch it You can watch it. It was there was a series produced by Stan Australia, TVNZ in 2025. It's out there. It's in the world. It was a smash. And you were intricately involved in this adaptation. But was it 2 episodes that you wrote? 2 episodes.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah. So I was in the writer's room for quite a few episodes, but I was the screenwriter for 2 of the scripts. So that was very fun. Also a learning curve, obviously, because my bread and butter is novel writing. So I wasn't, I had to learn some new, technology, new software, how to write scripts and new processes. And novelists, I did the classic novelist thing of like, okay, well, my script is way too long because I want to describe and tell you everything. I wanted to put in as many words as I can, and the whole point of the script is like no words, like minimal instructions, and just let the dialogue do all the heavy lifting. So that was a really cool learning curve. It was really cool to be involved and to write those episode 4 and episode 8 of Invisible Boys. And it's so cool. Like it's Stan, the producers, everyone from the producers down to the cast, the crew, everyone who promoted it. Like it's awesome, and I'm so happy with it. It doesn't happen every day that the writer is kind of as chuffed as I am with the end product, because sometimes it might go badly wrong, or it might totally veer off in a different direction to what the book was doing. But this story, the TV series on Stan, it totally is like it's not plot point faithful, but it's like totally faithful to the essence of the book and what it's about. It's faithful to the masculinity of the boys. It's faithful to the need to be totally self-expressed and to allow dirty moments, sexual moments to happen. That's part of life, and that's part of what the book was about. So and it's shot in Geraldton and Perth. I mean, you don't get that every day. So really cool. Like those actors, I'm so happy with all of them. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Get your Stan account, get a trial, whatever, and go watch it on Stan. It's worth it.
Link in the description. I'll also you answered just so many questions I wanted to ask here, because I'm imagining the creative process would have been so different to being on the page. You're focusing on the visual medium. It's not, there's so many other elements in play that bring this piece of art to life. It's not just, obviously, of course, you've got editors and designers and everything like that with books. They don't happen in isolation, but you've got other actors in there, literal actors, directors of photography, entire crews that are focusing on what happens in front of the camera. And of course, you get to go back home to Jero. So you've answered a bunch of questions I was going to have there, but this is more just a general vibe feeling. What the hell was it like seeing your baby come to life in the visual medium, and was it a serious mindfuck?
Yes, it was a serious mindfuck. I think the first time it kind of my fuses went just blew was when I met the actors in Geraldton. I went back home during the filming and I got to meet the 4 lead actors. So it was Joe, Aiden, Zach, and Joseph. And I think, trying to remember which way it was, but I want to say it was like Aiden came in as Zach was leaving or something. And so they said g'day to each other, and they had just a bit of a bro hug, right? And it was the moment of them interacting with each other that tripped me out, because I was like, Zeke is hugging Hammer in front of me, and I didn't write it. It was a real, my brain wasn't ready for that moment, It was really, really cool. And they all, the cast all got around each other. They were all kind of supportive to each other and seemed to get along really well. So that was just really cool to see kind of unfolding and to watch. I know they're not my characters, they're actors, but it was still cool to watch that happen. And definitely, the premiere was probably one of the coolest nights of my whole life, to be really honest with you. I think there's my wedding, and then there's the premiere night, because it was just really nice, just good vibes everywhere, right? Like 400 people in a big theater, and people from Stan and Screen West kind of gave me a really nice shout out to the crowd, which felt really good as the writer, to be in the room and kind of have a moment where people are like, hey, you done good. That was that was cool. And then to sit there and watch, so they had 4 episodes at the premiere, and to kind of sit there, watch it with a crowd who were reacting to it and responding and really into it. I remember, I think I was about partway through the 3rd episode, I'd smuggled some bourbons in my pockets, and I'd So I cracked. I think I was on my second bourbon. Yeah, it was bad. Like I think I was on the TV news as well. You can see my pockets bulging because that was before the premiere. But anyway, so I've cracked a couple of bourbons watching this episode, and I just, all the adrenaline. 2 episodes is an hour, so it's like an hour since all the adrenaline of the premiere and the red carpet. Sitting there watching and getting to the 3rd episode, and I just kind of remember, just taking stock of it and just being like, these are my boys on a screen. This is the story I wrote, which is drawn from my own feelings of growing up gay and Jordan and all the shit that I went through. And here it is on a screen. I'm sitting with my husband, which I never would have thought was possible for so many reasons. Sitting here with my sisters and my cousins and some mates from high school and all these writer friends. Like, it was just, I just kind of sat there and kind of just took this really deep breath and like, I done the thing. Like, I just had this really huge life satisfaction moment of like, I've done the thing. Like, it wasn't like if I die now, I'm happy, because like I still have plenty more that I want to do. But it was just a sense of, I'm really happy with this. Like I got this thing and I made it out of nothing. This is a thing that was spun out of just a bunch of trauma. So it was a good feeling.
That's awesome. I love that. That is so freaking awesome. And it's great that you made something that other people can then go and experience and enjoy themselves, like a book. It's kind of the same thing. I know I could honestly talk to you about that adaptation all day, but obviously there's other books. We Jumped to the Brink, published in 2022 by Text Publishing. I have another review, which will go as such. As the author, I can say without bias that The Brink is an absolute ripper novel and definitely the best book I've published this year. But please buy it so I can afford food. Cheers. Link in the description. I was sensing a pattern here. Thank God you have a review for King of Dirt yet.
I have reviewed King of Dirt. But but I don't know why I'm admitting it to you, because you bring it up in an interview. Yeah, look, I just like to be honest. I mean, The Brink is the best book I published in 2022. There is no lie there. So, it's the only book, but it's the best one. So very proud of myself for doing this at the time. Not so much when it comes up in an interview, but it's funny.
I'm sorry. It's just pure teasing. It just made me giggle when I saw it.
No, it's funny.
What was the biggest challenge that you actually found going from debut to follow-up? I mean, I'm experiencing this firsthand. It's been a few years since I've written my first book. I've gotten into a real groove with writing it, but it's been hell at some points. What did writing a second novel teach Holden the writer?
I think so the interesting thing for The Brink was that, to me, it was always the other way around. Even though I hadn't finished it before Invisible Boys.
Yeah, true.
To me, it felt like an earlier work. So I've never been able to shake that, even though it came out second. So to me, it was like, here's The Brink and here's me. That was my first, like, to me, The Brink is me bridging between my fantasy adventure story that didn't get published and Invisible Boys. And this was the stepping stone along the way where I kind of went, you can write a thriller. The Brink is still thrillery and a bit plot driven, but you can have people having emotions around that, and you can dive deep into those emotions and teenage feelings and angst. And so The Brink was me starting to do that. And then I kind of left it half finished, jumped to Invisible Boys, wrote that. And then I plan to write, my plan actually, if we're talking about writing and publishing and the business and that, that's who's listening to this, right? So my plan after I wrote Invisible Boys was, I'm going to write the sequel. And so when I signed with an agent, that's actually the first thing an agent asks you is like, so what else do you have? And so she loved Invisible Boys. And then I was like, well, the sequel is next, because this was actually kind of a prequel to what I wanted to write. I wanted to write about adult Hammer. And so that's the book I want to write. This is just me testing the waters, writing the novella. Then the novella got out of control and it became a book. But I was like, next thing is this sequel. And she's just kind of gone like, oh, well, sequels don't really sell. So what else do you have? And I was just like, shit. What else do I have? And so I've gone, yeah, like what else? And so I was like, well, I've got this thing where it's like 30,000 words of a thriller, and it's a bunch of high school leavers going on their schoolies trip and someone dies. And she's like, yeah, cool, write that. So, so I was like, well, goodbye sequel. I guess I'm writing a thriller. So I wrote a thriller and I went back to the Brink. But this all happened before Invisible Boys was published. So in a way, I feel like I also dodged the Brink being second book syndrome kind of vibes, because it was done and finished and sent off to the agent before Invisible Boys came out. So I didn't kind of go into that book with like pressure of, you know, you've had a good first book that was deemed successful, now try to back it up. I didn't have any of that. So that in a way was, I think, quite useful for the Brink. It then became obviously very difficult for me to do. But in the Brink time, it was I think helped me out. So yeah, I know that's not a straight answer to your question, but I think it's just because the Brink was already done first.
No, it's interesting. It's just interesting that was the creative journey that you found yourself on, and it makes you know, it to be honest, like I'm having that experience now. I'm writing another book as well as kind of the second book, and I'm finding it quite helpful to just jump back and forth between the two. If I'm in a particular mood in a certain day, I'm like, I want to write this story today, or if I want to write this story today, and it's not, which has actually been really, really helpful. So I'm not surprised that you kind of had a bit of a twisty turny story to book two, and the Brink. I mean, it's a story that it's like grappling with life after high school, but you've got the backdrop of this thriller backdrop. There's this murder that has happened. This is a book that is really focuses in on that teenage experience a lot, the bullshit that comes with that, the intensity that comes with that, the highs and lows that come with that as well. 3 points of view again with Leonardo, Mason, and Kaya. I love the quote that Kaya said, like, not to be mean, but I'm not sure why you came. This group isn't even nice to the people who are actually in it, which I was like, oh, that's it. There it is. Oh, there it is right there. Feel that. Tell me about writing the teenage experience, especially now that you have the thriller here, because I mean, you know, that's been in your work quite a bit.
It's I love that you love that quote, and it's
a great quote. It hit me like, oh
yeah. I'm so glad, because I think I was at a high school yesterday, and I was talking to like 5 classes of year 12s, and they're studying the Brink in English, which is so cool. And it definitely, you know, it couldn't be any younger than that, because the Brink is so edgy. They kind of have to be 18, 17, 18, whatever they are. But the teachers were kind of telling me that the teenagers just absolutely froth the Brink, and they think it's because it is so teenage and so like gossipy and so like, what has he said? What has she said? Who's sleeping with who? What's doing what? What did they say about me? And how do I feel? And, you know, all the insecurities, and it's so cringe in so many ways. And so when I hear that from teenagers, I'm like, I'm so glad it hits still. Like, I think there are some things about that teenage end of high school time that are timeless. And, you know, 30 years from now, when we're all flying on hoverboards through New Sydney, you know, the teenagers will be going through exactly the same thing. You know, they'll be able to read the Brink and be like, oh yeah, that's exactly, you know, that's exactly what I'm going through. So although it is a bit like, someone just said to me yesterday, they were kind of like, they were talking about how like YA novels, you know, have like major plot happening and then like, you know, angst. So it's kind of like, Mason's kind of like, oh no, someone's dead. I now need to fuck Jared. You know, like, like it just, and I was like, well, you know, like, I mean, it's not as direct as that, but, you know, like, it's just part of a teenage story, is that yes, they're going to be responding to like heavy shit, but then also they're still young people just drinking and partying and coming to terms with shit. So I'm glad that resonates. But I think, like, I wrote it being about friendship, but I think it's actually about identity, because, and I mean, it's about both, but in my head I was like, oh, this is about friends and bad friends, and bad friends who are mean to you and bad friends who don't let you be yourself. But actually then as you kind of go through it, you're like, well, let you, you know, like, they don't let you. What are you doing? What are you doing hanging around with these people? You know, and that's Leonardo and Kaya and Mason's kind of journey, is actually like, hang on, who are we pretending for? We've put on these personas to survive high school. High school's over, and we're kind of acting like, oh, it's such a problem that I can't be myself. Well, start being yourself, you know. High school's over. but it's very hard for a lot of us to do. And I struggled with it a lot, well into my 20s. So I think it hits a nerve for a lot of us.
Yeah, I actually don't have a question to add here, but I just wanted to say, like, I don't think I've connected with a character. I mean, of course, there are other characters in this story, but I just want to shout out Leonardo, because I was like, that
That's
was
so cool.
fucking me. Like, the pity invite felt out of place. Someone who just really struggled to fit in school. I had that experience a lot. And then, when everyone left school and went their separate ways, people went on gap year and stuff. Not a lot of people. Like you kind of suddenly your friendship group just collapses, and you realize, oh, there's people who do want to be your friends and people who don't. I actually don't have a question to add here. I just like on the topic of the universal experiences that come through, even beyond. You don't have to be. Your sexuality doesn't come into it. This is about the human experience. Me personally, I gravitated to Leonardo like a lot. Shout out. Shout out for you.
That's so fucking nice to hear. I'm really glad you said it, because I think especially with Invisible Boys being something that connects to so many people, and it really, like, it helps a lot of people process trauma. It helps people feel seen and whatever. And I get some of that with the Brink, but not as much. So it's really nice for me when someone's like, hey, Leonardo or Mason or Kaya, like, I get them, and that relates, because I'm like, oh, that book does that kind of stuff too. So very, very honored that Leonardo can be that guy for you. He's a huge part of who I was when I was younger as well. But you get the special thing of he actually changes his name to Nick, which is your name.
Yes, that wasn't. I will say, like, when that happened, I did have a bit of a mind fuck moment, but it was just like
that was wild, actually.
Yeah, it was.
I'm really relating to this character, and now he's turned into me.
My head actually exploded. It was but no, it just such an like I really, it was just one of those ones where, like, there's a few characters that you read in life that really just, like, they hit the nerve and hit that spot, and he was just one of them. He just really was for me personally. I honestly could chat all day about Leonardo, but we have another book to cover, which of course is the new baby on the block. It is, of course, King of Dirt, published 2025 by Pantera Press. Great book, loved it, particularly. And there's a good question I want to ask here, but it's kind of been applicable through all of your books. And it's a question that I got to ask Deborah. I mean, talked about Deborah earlier, and that is setting books in WA. In doing this series and doing this podcast show, like, I've discovered that there's particular time periods that I've been really getting obsessed with when books are set in there, like New Zealand during the 1980s, when there was a whole bunch of social upheaval and crazy shit happening. Particular periods in Australian history, particular moments in world history. And I freaking love books set in WA. I'm just like, talk to me about, I mean, I really connected with Jack in this story. I mean, I've got, in more ways than otherwise, I've got family in WA who actually do FIFO work. They go out into the middle of nowhere and do that period of 10 or 11 days where you are just on site working your ass off, and then you come back, and then you're kind of like trying to reset after such an intensive period of work. You're trying to connect with friends, but it's like you have such a disrupted life process and lifetime. But before I get sidetracked talking about Jack, like, talk to me about what is it about WA that makes it such an evocative location for you on the page? Obviously, besides, the fact that you've lived here and grown up there and that experience.
Yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head, because I am not really consciously trying to, like, create or capture WA-ness or WA settings. I'm really just writing what my brain knows. So I've lived in WA my whole life. So this is what I know. So each time I write a book, it's, Invisible Boys is Geraldton. The Brink is on the coast between Geraldton and Perth, kind of near a fictional Wedge Island. King of Dirt starts in Eucla on the Nullarbor Plain and then ends up in Geraldton as well. So these are just places, or, even if I haven't been to Eucla, they're spaces and worlds that I know and I've lived in my whole life. So I think I'm just trying, not even trying. My brain just goes, well, that's what I can talk to with some level of authority and authenticity with the way I describe things. So it lands there. There was a book that I wrote between The Brink and King of Dirt called Nullarbor Brothers, which again is in the drawer. But that one was me, I tried to write a book that starts in Sydney and does a road trip and ends up in Perth. And I do, I wonder if part of why that one didn't quite work is I hadn't been to all these places. I was writing that. So it was kind of, there was something in, I could Google Earth and Google Maps and Street View, but I hadn't walked the streets, and I did try it in Sydney, actually.
It's not the same.
But I did, but even doing it, like I think the Brink took me to, I want to say Sydney World Pride in 2023, maybe, and early 2023. And I feel like maybe I was still working on Nullarbor Brothers then. I could be wrong, but anyway, it's either the Brink tour in 2022 or the Nullarbor Brothers. The World Pride in 2023. I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, I was in Sydney, and I went, while I'm here, and I know I'm writing a book that starts in Sydney, why don't I go to the suburbs where I've set it? So I actually went to Bondi, and I walked around all the streets, and I went to a gym there, and I was trying to feel like I'd captured it, and I felt like that was good research, and it just did not, just didn't translate for me. I hadn't lived there. I visited, but I hadn't lived there. So for me, evoking WA is just instinctive and gut driven, and it's just what I do. Probably will continue that way because I just don't know anything else, and that's what I can do. But maybe the question on top of that is, why do people like reading it? And I think there is something. I feel like WA's got that kind of like Texas of Australia kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. There's a whole bunch of connotations you could throw onto that, but I think I just think there is something very evocative about this big state that is just mostly outback and mostly super desolate and super isolated. You have to drive hours to get to any town, and you get to that town, and there's really not much going on in any of those towns. I think we're a part of. I think it captures a certain imagination of what Australia is, or what Australia could be. And so I think a WA setting, or especially a regional or rural WA setting, is very evocative for readers, regardless of whether they're from WA or elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it such a fascinating place. I mean, Perth just feels like a melting pot. It's the most isolated city in the world. It's the place, even though there's plenty going on, it still feels miles away from everywhere else. And then there's even, other elements to it. But yeah, it's such a fascinating environment on the page. And as you alluded to, King of Dirt is your first dive into adult fiction, which kind of felt like a very natural step in. But I mean, it does come with, with a certain turn in terms of, dark subject matter. This book touches on topics of homophobia, conservative families, not that the identity troubles that come with that. Jack is estranged. He's kind of, I didn't want to say like he's just walking through life a little bit, but he's a mess. He's having a rough time. He's struggling with this kind of FIFO experience, as alluded to. And then there's also, he's not only dealing with being stuck in the closet at work, but then he's also got the family dynamic as well. And then, he finds out he may have conceived a son through his teenage girlfriend from years back. Spoiler, but don't worry, there's a whole bunch of other ones. So go buy it. But what I loved about this book, trying to like boil it down to buttons, it's a story about mental health. It's a story about self-identity that you've kind of talked about. But what I kind of felt about this one, this story ultimately about love. It's about, there's a kind of love, a strong love element to it, both, in ways that will stay spoiler free, but also kind of, why is love so important to Holden's books? Because love feels especially potent in King of Dirt, maybe due to subject matter, maybe due to, the characters themselves. Why is love so important to Holden?
I think this book was, to me, this book was the most vulnerable of all three of these, but even the fourth one. Like, I'm very proud of the fourth one. I think it's going to be a fucking ripper. But the King of Dirt was, I think, because it's from one point of view, and it's the only book so far that I've written that's only from one character's point of view. So you go way deeper. You're with Jack Brolo from the start to the end, and you follow his journey all the way through. It was such a vulnerable book for me, probably to show up on the page. in a way that in the other books I'm not. In the other books I am splitting myself in 3 different narrators, and even though yes, they're all parts of me, you can kind of, it's so fragmented and fractured that I can kind of evade detection. You kind of can't pin me down to one character because I'm in all of them. Whereas King of Dirt, I'm just very squarely Jack Brollo. and anyone who knows me, it just looks at this book and they're like, okay, you've just described yourself and like made yourself a bit, I don't know, a bit rougher around the edges or something, a bit slightly more alcoholic than you actually are. But that's about it. So that was a challenge that like I was very excited to do it though. I really wanted to write a book where I was me on the page effectively. And love was so important, I think, in terms of learning to love myself in spite of, how do I put it? If you're a chronic people pleaser, if you're a Leonardo or a Zeke, and you really want people to like you, and it's so important that people like you, and then you lose all that love, which is what happens to Jack when he's 18. He gets, all the love gets cut off. People get the suspicion that he's gay. He denies it, but he loses all his mates. He loses his girlfriend. He loses his family. And ultimately he kind of feels like he loses his standing in that town. So he's like, I'm out. Like I'm leaving town. I'm never coming back. And I'm off to just be myself somewhere where no one can hurt me, is effectively what he's doing. And so for me, this book was about love in multiple ways. It was about, the way I conceived it was, someone described to me once that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. And I thought that was very, very interesting, because there is a version of this where Jack Brollo, alcoholic, excavator operator, ute driving, Collingwood loving, gambler, smoker, drinker, finally realizes he's an addict and goes to therapy. Like there could have been a book that was just, Jack gets sober. But that would have been probably fucking dull, but also it just wasn't the book I wanted to write. I could have written a book about therapy, but I thought it was more interesting if it was about that quote, what if he's not seeking sobriety? What if he's like, finally, he's been so alone and so addicted to numb the pain of being so alone and unloved. And what if this book is like, he learns to connect again? And I don't really think I've seen I'm sure there are stories like that, but I hadn't kind of seen a blokey version of that where, here's this bloke who wants to learn to connect and love again. And that's what he does. So that's the whole book is really a journey from isolated, lonely man. And, loneliness for men in our 30s is fucking brutal, and it probably gets worse from there. We're not connected as much as we were when we were younger. So it's a journey from, being closed off to opening himself up to love, to loving himself initially, and then going back to look for Xavier, who was the man he loved when he was 18, and going back to find friendship in Eleanor, and father figure in Bob, and family in Lucy and Toby, and to some extent Dan, without kind of being spoilery. So that was really important to me, that was all there, and that the Dan figure, which again, not being spoilery, but it's on the back of the blurb, so it kind of, we know there's a potential that he might have a son. I wanted Jack to have this sense of like, okay, you've been fathered really badly. Like your dad sucked. Like he was violently homophobic. He treated you like shit. He's made you feel unloved. Perhaps you are unloved even. Maybe that's a horrible thing to think, but maybe you are unloved. If you were put in a position where you now have a teenager who might be your son, but even if not, you're a potential father figure to him, and he needs you and he's in trouble, what are you going to do? And I loved seeing Jack step up. Like I liked that idea that even this guy who's rough around the edges, and he's a mess, and he's a bogan, and he's trash, but he cares. He actually does care, and he wants to help this young man. So I thought that was a nice story.
It's a great like rounding point and kind of a full circle. I feel like you've answered my next question, which is kind of like what did writing and being a writer kind of teach you? Because it feels like there's so much going on in terms of examining human condition, human situations, everything around that, which is so critical. But I feel like I should kind of finish off by saying, like you've been alluded to it several times, there's another book coming. There's like the growth of Holden the individual, Holden the person will continue with this, this second book.
Well, it continues in a very crossover-y kind of way. So my next book is called, I think you'll like it, it's called Yeah, the Boys. And it's a celebration of like, male bonding, male camaraderie, Aussie bloke kind of footy culture. And beyond that, though, it's about, the three leads. So Zeke, Charlie, and Hammer in their mid-20s. So we see them 7 years after the end of Invisible Boys. And, I don't want to spoil anything, but essentially, they've all moved to the big city and none of it quite went to plan the way it was meant to go. So we see them struggling with life in the big city and responding to that. But the thing I'm really excited about with this book is that it is a super sequel, a crossover. I'm kind of comparing it to the MCU very, very boldly, and the gay, depressing, shitty indie version of the MCU, but it's the Sheppard verse. So in Yeah, the Boys, we're getting a story that is a proper sequel to Invisible Boys, but the secondary characters are drawn from The Brink and King of Dirt. So we have Mason and Braden from The Brink joining the cast, and Jack and Brick from King of Dirt also joining the cast. So they're all going to meet in Yeah, the Boys. So, and that's out in 2026 next year.
Oh, exciting! It's exciting to see the continual progression of Holden Sheppard, the writer, and Holden Sheppard, the human, with Yeah, the Boys. And I will say probably patent Sheppard verse, because I actually reckon you could totally do like when you do the box set release, like with all of the books together, just call it Sheppard verse, and you do your like classic setup in the classic freaking flexing motion as well, just to cap it off.
Yes. Yes, I need to do that. I would actually love to see I would love to see kind of maybe once all four are out and Yeah, the Boys has had its first OG cover. I'd love to see like I'm a book geek like that. Like I would love to see like all four of them having like matching covers. Do you know what I mean? It looks schmick. So I don't think it'll happen for the first one. I think the first time a book comes out, it likes, I think I like to have an original standalone cover. But yeah, my little wish list, a little box set, 4 books, matching cover. Perfect.
Amen to that. It's so exciting to see your progression as an author and see your books get traction. This has been so much fun, and I've absolutely loved talking to you. We'll finish off the show with a rapid fire question, which is kind of part of the formula of Date with the Debut, where I basically fling a bunch of questions at you and you give me the first answer that comes to your head. Are you ready, Holden?
Not even a little bit. I'm so pumped for this.
Wow! Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right. First up, usually we like to kick off, obviously, because being a book podcast, I love to hear about, book tastes, book enjoyment, things that you've read that you've enjoyed. First question: do you have a favorite book that you've read in the last 12 months? What is it?
I've been on tour. Bold of you to assume I've read a book for 12 months. I'll choose 2. I read my husband Raphael's manuscript, and it's incredibly good. And he's written his first book. So
you fucking what?
Yeah,
your husband's Raph's written a book?
Yeah, we met in creative writing class. So we've both been writers. We've been writers since we met. So he's written this book, and I'm like, man, this is gonna be great. So that's my favorite. I'm not allowed to let anyone go in front of him. But I've also read, what have I read lately? I've read Troy Hunter's new book, Gus and the Burning Stones. I did a blurb quote for that, like good, like YA mystery kind of vibes, like Agatha Christie lock room mystery, but Aussie YA and bit gay. And I read much earlier in this 12-month period, but still probably less than a year ago, I read Breath by Tim Winton for the first time. Which I had not read. And I felt bad about not having read it. So I was like, I'm just going to smash this out. And it was really, really good. Like, I think it's my favorite Tim Winton book, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I love it. It is good of it. It's love that it's been getting a whole bunch of love as well, which is really, really positive. off the back of that, broader question, what is your favorite debut novel that you've ever read? So you kind of, you picked it up, you read it, and you went, how the fuck was that someone's first stab at being a writer?
I've got a bookshelf right next to me, so I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah, if you need to go look, we can cut this whole bit out.
No. Do you know what? I think well, it's not a novel, but it's a memoir, but it's still his first book. Holding the Man by Timothy Congreve, which came out in 1995, and it was about him, so gay couple, and it's about chronicling the AIDS epidemic in Australia through this love story between Tim and his lover John. I think it's the very first book that. So I'm not a crier when I'm sad, and that's not like a tough man, I don't cry thing, because I cry a lot when I'm happy. if I'm laughing a lot, or if I'm like the best, I've won some massive award and it means I don't have to work for a year. Like I get like I shed the happy eye water, right? But I don't often cry when I'm sad or at like a sad movie or a sad book. So I read Holding the Man when I was 20 something, and it just moved me to tears. Like I was sobbing, like I was absolutely devastated and heartbroken by this book. And part of it was that it was real, but part of it was just beautifully, beautifully told book. And I'm stunned that that's his. I think he's a playwright, but I think it was the first book he wrote, and it is incredible, heartbreakingly and beautiful.
I have to read it now. I must admit I haven't heard of it, but it'll go into my TBR pile that is now about going upwards of 2 meters high.
Aren't they all? I know.
I'm scared at some point will fall on me while I'm sleeping and kill me.
It'll be what takes you out. Books kept you alive, and books took you out.
You know what? If that's not like if that's the way, then that's the way. That's how it is.
He went out doing what he loved.
with a massive TBR pile, trying his best to read books that he couldn't get to. He went out doing what he loved. Do you have a favorite word? And why is it fuck? Sorry.
I was about to say fuck, but actually, I don't know. I think my favorite word is no. Because there's massive power. Like there's huge power in saying fuck. I love the word fuck. It's one of my favorite words. So probably fuck. But I really love when you're really pissed with someone and you're in a fucking business meeting or something and you just say no. And like, you don't have to swear. You don't have to get angry. It's just, no, this isn't happening. Like setting a boundary with the word no is huge power. So maybe no, I think is maybe my favorite.
That's good. I like that. That sounds like, because it comes with life approach, life message as well. I'm taking that as well.
Yeah. Just drop a no one day and see how people react.
Yeah, and everyone, they'll be stunned. Who's the bigger reader in your household, you or Raphael?
Raphael reads like a fish. That's not right at all. That is the biggest. He reads like a fish. Well, I drink like a fish. He reads like whatever reads a lot. He's a huge reader. He reads like a bookworm.
A bookworm. Reads like
whatever.
A bookworm.
Look, I should have just not tried to use a simile. Raphael's the big reader for sure. He reads everything and he's fast and he has enough attention span to read. Whereas I think I've been in public mode for so long, and then also writing books and editing books. And when I'm doing any of those things, touring, promoting, editing, writing, I don't read. And lately it's been back to back. So I really barely read at the moment. So yeah, he's still going strong. He's good.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of people's ability to smash a book in like half a day. When someone messaged me and was like, "Oh my God, I read your book in an evening." And I went, "That took me 5 years to write and you read it in an evening? God dang it." I mean, I take it as a massive compliment because you read it in one sitting. It's
totally. I would. Yeah, take it, bro. Yeah.
But like, oh, Jesus. You like to smash out at the gym. It's confirmed. It's official. My boy loves to push plate. What's your current PB? Yeah, what's your current PBs at the gym? Like a PB that you're proud of at the gym?
I smashed one, I want to say this year, maybe early this year, and I benched 100 kilos for the first time, which was a good feeling. Benching 225 in the American lingo. And yesterday I did an all-time PB on the dumbbell incline press. So I had 45 kilo dumbbell in each hand and smashed 3 of those. Not easy. And like the muscle was actually fine. Like the muscle, I was like, I could lift heavier, but my wrists were going like, fuck this shit. So those are 2 PBs I'm probably really proud of. And my legs are pretty strong. My vertical leg press is like, I want to say 350 something kilos. Like I have some good strength there. That's all my Italian genetics got me, really. It's kept me short and stocky, but got big, strong legs to climb all the mountains. So that's about it. But no, I love the gym. Like I live for the gym, which is blatantly obvious to anyone who has the misfortune of following me on social media, thinking, oh, I liked his book, let me keep up to date with his literary thoughts. And it's just gym spam. It's just gym. Like that's really the only, I've just got 2 little brain cells left. They're ping-ponging around here. And all I think of is gains. So that's life. But you know what? It makes me really happy. The gym makes me as happy as writing makes me. So no regrets.
I do it. Do it. It will do whatever makes you happy. And hey, if you're slaying at the gym, no complaints there. Off the back of that, which would you prefer to go to, the country or the beach?
Oh, beach. Weirdly,
beach.
Well, country for me is beach. Jordan has a beach, so for me it's like.
Oh yeah, true. It does. Shit.
Yeah, so I was like country. I always prefer country, but if I had to choose between inland and beach. I grew up on the coast, and if I don't see the water in about 3 weeks or so, if I go 3 weeks without seeing the ocean, I have to physically drive to it and just sit there and be like, I can breathe again. Like I get really landlocked. I think it's a thing from like people from coastal towns. So yeah, beach.
Absolutely love it. Do you reckon you should actually get a patent for bromosexual? Because I feel like you should.
Mate, look, I might have to run straight from this interview down to the patent office and get bromosexual Sheppard verse.
Bro job.
Look, bro job. No, would you know? Okay, so someone on Goodreads said Holden should trademark bro job, and I posted that on Instagram, and a gay bloke I know who's in the media was like, I've already done that. And I was like, are you shitting me?
Oh, that's rough.
Yes. Yeah, but it's like it's already taken. But I think bro job is a great word, and I think bromosexual is a great word. I think I'm really glad I put that in my bio somewhere because it keeps circulating and reappearing. But I love that word. I love the word bromosexual so much more than the word gay. So I'll happily just call myself that forever.
Yeah, it smashes like, it's like it doesn't matter what your interests are. It just shows that humans are not, gays are not in a box. Straights exactly are not in a box. Yeah. Humans are not boxes. We are a kaleidoscope. So I like it.
Yeah.
If you could live forever, would you?
No. I don't think I would. I have thought about this, and I don't think I think eventually you would lose. I don't know. I think the end is what gives life meaning. I think everything has value when it might go away. But if I was just here forever, I think I'd get fucking bored. And if other people were dying around you who you cared about, you had to oh no, you're just still there. Fuck it. No, here for a good time, not a long time.
I like it. And off the back of that, my final question: are you happy?
Oh, yes. That's almost a surprise to me because I thought I was going to say no.
It's funny. People have said no to me before. Like quite a few people have said no to me before. The headspace that I've come up with this question, and I know I'm literally hijacking this question for you, is I think being honest is critical. So if I feel like shit, just own feeling like shit. It's better to be honest with oneself rather than try to achieve some sort of greatness of happiness being the goal of life. Where humans are not like that. Sometimes we just have a shit fucking day. And it's okay to just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think if you'd asked me until probably yesterday, I was just having a bit of a run where I was like, like super tired. Like my first interview for Invisible Boys, the TV show, was December last year, and I've been doing like promo in some form since then. So it's been like 8 months, and so I was just getting to the point where I was not particularly happy. I was very tired, very run down. But yesterday I did that school event, and it really lifted my spirits because I just had this. I was chatting to my husband last night about it, and I was like, I kind of forgot that, like there were students there who the teachers were like, this student doesn't read, and she's now read the whole book. Or like there was a student there who was like my biggest fan. He's a year 12 and he's read all my books, and he wanted me, like I had to sign his leavers jumper, and I was like, I love this man, and we posed together and it was really fun. And I don't know, it just reminded me that like I do the promo because it's fun for me, but also like it really means something for some people, like people who are fans or who've connected with your staff. That means something. And so I kind of came away from that last night like, I think I'm doing what I want to be doing. It's hard, and it's not always easy to make money, and I'm always stressed, but I'm doing what I love. So yeah, current mood today, I'm happy with where I'm at.
That's great. And I'm happy because I got to chat to you today. It's
me too, bro, because we have, like you said, we were Insta bros and Twitter bros for years and years.
Yeah. It's nice to finally actually chat to you in person. One day we'll get to do this in face-to-face, which would be freaking amazing. But I have had a great day today because I got to chat with Holden about his freaking awesome career and all the stuff he's doing. I'm glad that you found books, and I'm glad that it is something that is bringing you so much joy in life. And I'll simply finish by saying to all of our listeners who are checking this out, there's a whole bunch of books that Holden has published. So I strongly recommend you go and check them out. We've got Invisible Boys, The Brink, and of course, the new edition this year, King of Dirt. And yeah, The Boys is coming out in 2026 as well. So you will never get enough of Holden Sheppard. Holden, thank you so much, man. It has been a freaking joy chatting with you.
Cheers, Nick. It's been awesome, mate. Thank you for a really, really fun interview, and glad we got to hang out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Date with a Debut, and for listening to the Words and Nerds channel. You can buy all books mentioned in today's episode down in the description box, and if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review, leave us 5 stars or a thumbs up. It really helps the show out. If you want to hear episodes when they drop, be sure to subscribe to Words and Nerds, or you can subscribe to Date with a Debut on Podbean to hear the latest episodes as they drop. Want to support the show more? You can also subscribe to my Patreon in the description to get early access to episodes, book reviews, recommendations, and a whole lot more. Catch you soon! Date with a Debut is a Words and Nerds and Breathe Art podcast co-production.